culture comes in. And I know families differ, so you need to understand your spouse, because there are some who don't mind, switching roles when you're not there. They handle homemaking very easily, take care of kids, do everything. When you come back home, everything is taken care of. And there are others who just can't do it, and that's where I think you need to really negotiate on what is the best approach, not fighting over that, and also to understand this resistance from the man. Where is it coming from? Is it more of the man and the ego and all that? Or is it just ignorance, not understanding that here it is okay to do certain things? So it's a matter of time, having dialogue to find the best way, because these children are yours, both of you. And you have the well-being at heart. So you need to have the dialogue in terms of how do we watch over these kids. If it leans more towards the mother, then the mother will have to be the one to reduce the hours at work to be able to watch kids. So you just have to work, because one thing I've come also to notice, our ladies are completely exhausted because they're the ones that are working so hard. And we have this thing, I think it's a cultural thing, because as a mother, you feel that you have to be the one that everyone leans on in the home. But then we have no one to lean on at times. But I think it's okay sometimes to say, I am really tired, and then your spouse can pick up and assist you. And that comes with understanding for the both of you. It is okay to have someone else to talk to you if you're not able to agree, because I think it's okay. I know sometimes we don't like to air our dirty linen in public, but if it's causing a lot of friction in the home, you may need a third person to help you put some meaning or sense into what's going on. Because what we want to avoid is really creating a toxic environment in the home for the children. So you need both of you to care about your well-being, so that one person doesn't feel overburdened, because at the end of the day, you break down. So we want to be very mindful of our duties, what our roles are, so that everything is distributed in an equitable way, and you're able to take charge of your health as well.
Thank you, Nelly, for mentioning that. I don't usually feel comfortable talking about relationships in marriage, the expectations, and what one spouse is supposed to do or the other is supposed to do. And the reason is because every family is unique. If I tell you this is how I've kept my home for years, you will think I'm a fool. And if you tell me this is the way you've been keeping your home, I might think, oh, why should you be doing that? You are a career woman, you are a professional woman. But I want to say this. The Bible, I think, established it in Proverbs chapter 31, I think, the virtuous woman. I believe so much in that. When you call a woman virtuous, there are expectations. You are the one who leads your home with integrity, discipline, and more. All the virtues that a virtuous woman practices are aimed at making our husband's life better, teaching our children, and serving God. So, if you are a Christian, you should, really look out to the Holy Spirit to lead you on how to lead your home. Marriage is very tasking. For me, if I had a choice, I would have remained single, because you need to invest more if you want to remain married. And that is why I find it difficult to really say this person was responsible for our marriage breaking up. You've done your best. When it's no more working, everybody will go their different ways just to keep peace. But what we are saying in essence is, it takes the virtuous woman to build the home. Something you talked about, you said sometimes when you go to work, you want to come back and see some things done. Did you even talk about that before you left home? Did you ask your husband, can you help with this? You are thinking the man should be spontaneous, take it upon himself to do something he was not doing before. And I'm speaking from experience now. My husband is not here. He comes every three months. The first time he came, the fight was so serious. You know? And then I said I was done. Please go back to Nigeria and then I'll be here with the kids. But the Holy Spirit ministered to me. You are going to be labeled. Why? They will say it was because you came to America that you are no longer in your marriage. And I said, well, is that what people will say? I will do everything possible to make this work. It was difficult. Sometimes I will be cooking and I will be crying. You know, I'll be saying, I went to the office and back. You are here on vacation and you are waiting for me to come and make food for you. And then I will come back from work and start preparing food again. But after practicing it for maybe months, I got used to it. And he started learning too. He started preparing eba for himself. He will make eba for me full of garri, but I will eat it and I will eat something after. You know? It's all about give and take. So I don't advise people on marriage, but I've seen so many approaches women are using. We are wiser than our husband. Whether you like it or not, take it or leave it. I've seen women here in Minnesota. They will check themselves into the hospital that they need bed rest, and they will cooperate with their nurses and leave 4 kids with their husband. And the husband will be saying, please let me take care of her. I hope nothing will happen to her. You need to come up with approaches if you don't want to have mental health and die. And then share with your husband later. When you wanted to kill me, you don't know how to cook ever, you don't know how to cook anything. I need to bring an approach. It's for your mental health. It's all about your well-being. I've seen so many people coming with their approaches instead of having to argue all night long. You are expected to wash the plate. When you are washing the plate, break one. And you say, my hands are so weak. He won't want you to break all the plates. I will leave it. I will help you with it. So it takes understanding. We need to understand our husband. Don't have too many expectations. Try to change yourself while you are trying to change your husband. Instead of trying to change him, change yourself. It's going to work. It has worked for me. Nobody thought I was going to stay in my marriage for 2 years. I was always packing my things and dividing the kids. You take this, I will take this. After some time, I saw that was not going to work. Because my kids, they started hating me for it. They will say, I hate my mom. My daughter wrote me a letter and said, I hate my mom. She's always fighting with my dad. And that was when I had a rethink. If I'm not careful, this will turn these kids against me because my eyes is always red. I'm always snarky. I'm always shouting. But I changed. When we were driving down, I was telling Dr. Oni, there is no situation we cannot change about ourselves. All we do is to change situation about the other. We need to work on ourselves first. By merely looking at you, I think the other person will change. Thank you.
The way we parent back home was good there. Over here is not the best. Especially African fathers. We cannot be drill sergeants here. And a lot of times those kids, they will draw and not come out because their father just come home from work. And they don't know what they're going to say. Especially the girls. You may boys, African men may say, what are you wearing? This one is too short. This one is too this. So when it comes to parenting, we get to know that the parenting back home and here is so different. You get to learn and unlearn what you learn over there. The way you talk to kids here, you need to negotiate. I'm sure you're going to say, why would I negotiate? I gave him food, I gave him housing, and now you have to talk back to me. Remember what I said? It's American born confused. So you cannot hold them tight like that. The rope has to be balanced. You have to have a balanced rope so that you can balance each other. The kids, for example now, summer is coming, and I know SDA churches, they have a lot of events for kids. This is the time to start thinking, where would this kid go, especially if they are not kids that can work, maybe little kid, 10 years, or you need to start planning with YMCA or some activity that you can register them for summer to go and do things because they need to be occupied. When they don't do that, that's when you see some of the behavior coming out of them. Now, when it comes to this parenting, I think I will leave some part for the women here too, because I can only talk about African men, that we cannot be that drill sergeant. My kids, when they were growing up and their mom traveled, oh my goodness, they have long face, because they know this guy is going to say something just nasty. I will say, okay, we are going to school now, we cannot forget anything, because I'm not an helicopter mom. I'm not going to be flying back from school, from work. And so they will make sure they pack everything. And and then I found out it wasn't the best approach. Even though the people don't learn under fear, you become fearful with them. So I quickly withdraw from that approach. So that's why I'm telling all the men here now, don't be a drill sergeant. Your kid will fear you and they're not learning anything. It's just fearful. When people fear, they don't learn anything on that fear. And so we need to be careful. When we parent back home, you slap this, you do this. You can't do that here. It will become a child protection issue. And we don't want to go there. So I'll pass on to my colleagues here. Thank you.
It brings joy before they come back home. Let's not just assume that because they are home, there is a TV and kids can be stressful. Even as parents, you get tired of your kids sometimes. You're like, ooh, I need a breather. So let's consider what we can do with our parents or whoever your caregiver is for your kids, and be very intentional on how am I treating them. On Sabbath, make sure they are coming to church as well. Give them time to socialize with other mothers and other grandmothers here. Like here, I know there's a room back there. Allow them time to socialize, to touch base, and also during buy them phones to talk with their family members back home. Like put them on this schedule where they know that I can also call home. I don't need to hide to talk back home. Like allow them also to experience life to their full potential under your roof. Then they'll be glad to watch your kids. And then at some point, if they're able to travel home, let them go and come back. Let's try to really give them a good, healthy environment that will boost their health as well. And that goes now to what Tolu talked about, dementia. We know dementia, and many times I know it wasn't very known to our community. And we find, by the time we get to know about it, it's way at the late stages. It's good to know if your parents are forgetting things, is it because, right now, with COVID, I know many of us, including myself, sometimes I forget, because there's just so much sometimes that's going on. But there's that forgetfulness that you need to worry about and be curious. If it's, consistent, you're seeing they're forgetting things that they used to know. Again, we need to be able to see and recognize what they're doing, if it's a normal pattern, how it's developing, so that we can have them assessed as well. But please, let us make our parents or our caregivers, give them the space where they can also thrive.
Thank you. We want to take...
And sometimes they are familiar with the environment where they are coming from. And they want to take a stroll, maybe during summer, and they don't know their way back home. Yes, it's possible, because all the houses look very the same. But we need to be careful and understand how their memory is working, ask them questions, and don't isolate them. So many people bring their parents here just for them to give the kids to them to take care. No, you can make money out of that. You can turn it into a business where you use it to build generational wealth. When people are making money, their brain will work very well. Am I lying? So if you bring them to care for your kids, pay them to do it. Don't think it's because it's my mom. Let them get something for it. That's going to, it's going to be something they look forward to doing. It's going to help them. They will start thinking about going back, to their country. And then let us create an opportunity for them to exercise. I was a bit surprised when they were singing the other time and nobody was dancing to it. When I go to my church, it's an opportunity for me to do exercise because I dance. Yes, when I hear the drum, that's enough for me for the week, every Sunday. Please, let's incorporate cultural fitness for these people. At home, put music, let them move their body, walk up and down, you know, instead of them to sit all day long. Thank you.
Okay.
Being married in Kenya or having married here, you find out that the way roles are modeled from our community is very different. So for instance, it's known that babysitting is a job for mothers, and fathers are supposed to provide. But when we come to this country, life is very different. So you find out that if we have children, I'm going to work and we can't afford to have a full-time babysitter in the house, so we have to alternate, take shift, taking care of the kids. So when I go to work, I expect that, and I don't know if it's me, but I think that the tendency that ladies adjust very fast to the new environment. So when I go to work, I expect that when I come back, things are done. So when I come back, I found out that everything is, my husband is waiting for me to take over from where I stopped. So then you find out I am getting depressed and things are changing. Being a new environment, how can we, and you said for kids, some of them it's 360 degrees, they have to turn to adjust. So for adults, what is the best way for us to maneuver through this system so that we can adjust? But because by the time someone comes to realize that I have mental illness, it has gone way far that it's going to take a long time to come back.
And sometimes the stories you hear, they're really heartbreaking. Because we bring them here, they come to babysit our kids, we assume that's it. We need to care for their well-being as well. They are not here for you to take doubles and triples. You make money, you continue building back home, neglecting them here. Back home, they were very active. They had things to do. You've got to create something here for them. Other than what you say, yes, please pay them. You may not put them on an hourly wage, but at least pay them for what they're doing. They're not just here for you and your husband to take vacations, you leave her, or him, whoever you is caring for your kids. Then you come back, go back to work. Then what have you given her? I've even had others, our mothers mostly, we have these conference lines that they like to listen to because they speak in our language. Please encourage them. I've had others who take the phones from them instead. That, oh, you're wasting time on those. Trust me, that is their antidote. Like, that's what gives them joy. As long as the kids are safe, the kids are fed, they are, they can watch the kids, let them also do what they enjoy to do. And also, when you're going to the store at times, just like, let's go. Walk around, let them move, their bodies to move, than just sitting in the house. Try to make the environment as beautiful for them here in as much as it's not back home. And during summertime, get a small garden, let them go out.
American-born children, the kids that we brought from back home, and what we teach them at home, what we teach them at church, the school undoes. It removes the message. And these children, they call us African parents.
We seem to be agreeing that mental health is an issue within us, especially the migrant. It is an issue, perhaps you have been keeping it under the carpet, but now it is above the carpet. How can we find help?
And now, there is a tendency that when these children, they start having the gadgets, that's the phones and computers, they lock themselves in their rooms, probably the entire day. Sometimes if you have tough regulations, they only come out when they're eating, and then they go back to their rooms. So sometimes we don't know our children well to study on the kind of episodes. Probably either we are not at home, we are so busy, and you get that we don't study and realize either they have mental health because they are locked up in the rooms, and especially when they do well in school, they tell you, you know, I have good grades. There is no need for you to ask me to interact with others. So probably they are on the gadgets. So how can you help us or advise us on what is supposed to be done that these kids can be able to be interactive the way we grew up? You know, we grew up, not that you can write to your sister who's next to you, that bring me water to drink through a text, but you are in the same room. How can you help us to move forward?
So to address the first question first around our children, you know, first of all, there's what we want to accept about developmental ages. We know there's an age where kids really, you're their worst enemy. And that's okay. As long as they still have respect, you understand that that is the psychological stage that we are going through. I mean, developmental stage, so that you don't take it personal and then aggravate it to a different issue instead of understanding. And again, I always want us to educate ourselves to understand, is this something normal? Is this developmentally appropriate for this age group? Because there's that stages of development where kids really want nothing to do with the parents. But still, even at that point, you as the adult, you still want to do your due diligence. Show love to that child. Still be present for them so that whenever they want to talk, they have someone to talk to. And keep checking in. When they come in, check, is everything okay? They can just, yeah, they walk away, that's okay. You've done your part. But if you also take a cold shoulder, then they might read that differently, that you don't care about them. So as parents, we still have to continue being available for our young ones or our youth, even when they're going through, you know, their shenanigans of ages and friends being the most important part of their lives. But we also want to see what would be developmentally appropriate and what may not. Because if it's about peers being who matter to them versus adults, I mean parents, but then you don't even see them with peers, then there's a problem there. If they're isolating by themselves all the time, they are not grooming, your kid don't even want to take showers, you know, there are things you can see. So again, we need to be able to notice our kids' behaviors and how they are presenting them so that we can start having those conversations and be able to get them help as soon as we can. But as parents, I know, coming from Africa, there are times we just minimize things. But here now, as you are going to say, the American one confused, we have to be there to try and understand this confusion of theirs. Our kids are going through a lot at schools. In fact, they go through a lot, and I would ask you to be very, very intentional around asking your kids how they are going through at school. They may come home now and talk about it, but find ways of just, you know, be curious. How to do with that, and if you've not created that safe space at home and created that relationship, they might actually even be cutting in the bedroom without you knowing and then hiding the scars, because that's a mental health symptom. You know, a mental illness symptom when you see a child is cutting. But they do that because it gives them the relief from the pain they are going through. So it's very important to be able to recognize if you see scars on their bodies, you ask, wait, where did you get that scar from? Don't just take any answer like that. Just notice, do you see another one and another one? You know, because they do that. So it is very important to be able to recognize that. And again, we need to start changing our messaging, our cultural messaging around mental illness. Let's not be able to demonize someone who is mentally ill. It's not of their own making. It's just that, you know, you're going through a hard time and you're needing some extra support to help you cope with what you're going through. That's when we need to be close and ask the kids how we can be there. Even if they don't want to talk to us, ask again. If you need anything, I'm right here. So maybe I'll let you guys answer the first one, then we'll respond to the second one.
So the first one is about when kids start isolating and they want to be alone. Just like Nelly rightly said, that is the time we need to really discuss with them and know what is going on. It might not be with the home, it's a matter of the mind. That is what it is. Someone bullied me today, they start thinking, why am I less? What's wrong with me? I remembered years ago, my son had cancer, and I took him to Italy for 1 year. And there is this white Italian boy. He will always come to my son and, do this to his skin to see if it's going to come off, and he will look at it. That was very disturbing for my soul. When I noticed it, he was not talking about it, but I noticed, and I started talking about it. So you need to start doing that to him too, to see, because he's white, you need to see if his color skin will come off too. And he stopped doing it. And the boy is 24 now. He holds his cultural identity in a way that I expected him to. If we don't have the right solution to any problem they bring, we need to pray for the guidance of the Holy Spirit to help us. Parenting, I tell people, you cannot get a certificate for it. You say you have all what it takes to parent a child, especially an African child who was brought to this country to start imbibing another person's culture. Even you as a parent, when you drive, you curse. You can't do it here, and you're adapted to that. Why can't you understand how difficult it is when you are asking them to change 360 degrees? It has to be gradual. Nelly said something that I want to really piggyback on, and that is about changing the narratives around the way we talk about mental health and suicide prevention. We have to keep learning. We can't be coming for this type of training once in a year. It has to be ongoing. It's a lifelong learning. Even when the kids are doing okay, there are some things you really need to check out for. My son is doing very fine, but I need to caution him on how he's setting his dream. He got his master's degree at the age of 23. That can make him to, become egoistic or proud. You need to let him know it's a privilege. You got that because you worked hard and God answered your prayer. You need to keep praying to maintain that position if you want to get more opportunities. So these are the things we need to be very practical. So many parents, it's all talk. We don't put what we say into action. We just, we prescribe a behavior. You need to do this. You need to do this. Are we giving these kids the enabling environment to be able to do what we have prescribed? So these are some of the things we need to look at. We don't know it all. I know, I was labeled the black sheep of my family. But I know what I wanted. There are some kids like that. Then I knew what I wanted and I worked towards it. Why can't you try and believe in them? If a child is telling you, I don't want to be this is what I want to be, ask them the reason. I gained admission into the university to study medicine. I was there for a year. My dad was so happy. After a year, I said, no, I don't want to become a medical doctor again. But I still became a doctor. So sometimes we think we know the script, and we give the script to these kids to act them. We need to be careful. We need to slow down and understand the individual, that child, as a unique being. And we cannot be treating all kids the same way. We start comparing. If you see your friends, if you see your sister, no. Each child is unique in their own way. So we need to keep learning. I'm not teaching you parenting. I know some people, they are grandparents, they are older than me, but something that has worked for me, and we learned in school as a marriage and family therapist. These are some of the things we were taught in school. The theories that we were given, when you apply them, you get to know more about them. Sorry for taking your time.
Thank you. I just want to echo some of those things. To also mention something that those kids sometimes, when adults react to kids' behavior, it is your own frustration that you take on the kids. And so that is one of the things I've been telling some parents, that we cannot be angry with those kids, because sometimes we have to pick our battles. Not all the battles that you bring soldier to help you. You just have to see what part of this behavior is going to affect him negatively or her negatively. If it's not, then pick your battles. when you do, it's like you are just harassing them. Oh, he's come again. So later on, they just have immunity. Whatever you say, just come here and go out here. It doesn't make any sense to them. So at what point do you as parents just don't power struggle? Because I want you to be this. It's overcorrection. When you overcorrect kids, you become a nagging person, nagging parents. We see that going on a lot. And so we cannot nag those parents, those kids, thinking that we are teaching them some skill. The moment you do that, you see power struggle. And sometimes I say, what is consistent about those kids is their inconsistency. Today they miss it, tomorrow they get it right. And so, why as parents, that's what we do. We are just like medical doctor practicing medicine. Does this one work today? If it doesn't work, change again. So you get to look at yourself and assess the way you come out with those kids so that you don't become a nagging parent, because they'll get you named. And you know what? The name you call your kids matters. If you say this behavior, oh, you are just a loser, well, it's going to be losing. And so we get to look at our language. The way you describe your illness also matters. If you describe your illness this way, then you know you're going to get a positive report. So, thank you.
Thank you. Nelly, there is the other question about the parents we have brought here, and we keep them in the house throughout. And when they have issues, is it just part of normal aging, or is a problem?
I'm going to take that before then we go to take that.
Okay, go ahead.
And that we know, just because we know the cultural differences, the context is different for these parents. And as they're getting older, there is a tendency for them to forget things. It's not part of normal aging. It's a disease called dementia. And I want you to know we have a project that is ongoing where we are educating the community and the caregivers. If we bring anyone to this community to educate you, just because we know the importance, we make it, we give something for your participation.
I want to say that we African men, we always believe we're in charge, but we are not in charge. Let's be honest with each other. When they are not at home, we are lost. We don't agree to this. I can testify to that too, with my wife too, because one of those things happen. So we are not in charge. We are just hallucinating that we are in charge of something, and we are power struggling, and we can't get it. So we need to really balance our relationship. And a lot of time, it's not that it goes, it's not smooth, and it's not always easy, but it's doable. And we need to remember though, it takes two to really make it work. If one is off the balance, then we know it may not work. So we need to really make sure that this happens. Back in Africa, many of our women may not be working, so you go back, you have entitlement to come home and be reading newspaper at that time, over there, or not here. Because everybody is working here, putting in 8 hours, and especially if you are a nurse, you are putting 50 hours. And so we need to do all those things. And that is why that equation is not balanced, and we want equity. So please, in the home, we don't have to be fighting for equity. We already need to give it to each other. Thank you.
Thank you.